Hello there. Is the British government trying to get closer to the EU again? Well, nobody wants to admit that publicly. But the people slowly seem to have doubts about Brexit. And Nigel Farage has a lot to talk about these days. If you believe the words of the right-wing populist, who is now officially in political retirement, he sees his life's work in jeopardy. He fought for Brexit for a quarter of a century, he recently said in a video message on Twitter. But now globalists are back in office in the British government. In general, nobody in the governing Tories really believed in the exit from the EU, unlike him. His message was therefore, if the government refrains from taking a hard line towards Brussels, he will intervene. Although he never planned to return to politics, he no longer wanted to stand by and watch. If you're conservative, take this as a warning. No sorry as a threat. The fact that Farage and other Brexit enthusiasts are currently alarmed is due to reports from last weekend. As you already know, the Sunday Times reported that the new British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was basically aiming for a rapprochement with the EU. Switzerland-EU course served as a model. I think there's a very good way that inspires more confidence than we could ever have done with Boris or Liz Truss, said an unnamed source close to the PM. And the Financial Times, as you know, also reported that the government made comparisons with neighboring Germany. After years in which the governing Tories became increasingly radical in the stance on Brexit, the words sound like more than just a small course correction. It could be the first signs that the party might be leaving its dogmatic pro-Brexit path. Doubts also seem to be growing among the people. As you all also know, according to YouGov poll at the beginning of November, 32% of Brits believed that leaving the EU was the right decision. That's a new all-time low. But is the country about to change? If one believes the report in the Sunday Times, despite the rejection of the government, the new direction could roughly be as follows. On the basis of bilateral agreements, Great Britain wants to regain access to the European internal market. At the same time, however, it's not intended that EU citizens and Britons can move freely again both on the island and in the EU area. The government would be striving to adjust relations with Brussels over the next 10 years. Even if it was only unconfirmed speculation, even rejected, the outcry among the many pro-Brexit media and political hardliners was big. A Eurosceptic Tory told the Times that the chaos of recent months was a walk in the park compared to what would happen if Sunak softened the Brexit deal. Accordingly, the pressure on the Prime Minister was so great at the beginning of the week that he publicly denied the reports. He finally voted to leave and is aware that Brexit has already brought the country advantages and will continue to do so in the future, he said on Monday. But man, is that man a liar as well. Nevertheless, many Britons now seem to be becoming aware of the damage the EU exit has caused. In the long term, the OBR economic regulator is predicting a 15% decline in the volume of trade with the EU. And political debates that were actually considered settled have also broken out. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is currently fighting for an independence referendum again after 2014. She also justified this with Brexit, which the Scots had rejected in the 2016 vote. As I will a little bit more talk about it later, the Supreme Court decided on Wednesday that the Scottish government may not hold a second vote without the consent of London, but Sturgeon doesn't want to let that deter her. We should have no doubt that as of today, democracy is at stake. That's what Sturgeon said after the verdict in Edinburgh. As a consequence, the head of the Scottish National Party, the SNP, had already announced in advance that the next general election would be reinterpreted as a de facto vote on whether Scotland should remain in the United Kingdom. All in all, however, it's not to be expected that the British government will completely shed its EU skepticism in the near future. The violent reactions show that such a course could quickly develop into a conflagration in the Tory parliamentary group. At the same time, opposition leader Keir Starmer of the Labour Party announced a few months ago that his party was not seeking to return to the EU. For the polemicist Farage, however, this is not a sign of relaxation. If there is a rapprochement with the EU, he warned that the Tories could be wiped out in the next election. Well, I say they definitely will be. Farage referred to the results of the 2019 EU elections. At the time, his pro-Brexit party, now called Reform UK, got the most votes on the island with 30.5%. However, there are currently no signs of a major upswing in the upcoming parliamentary elections. According to survey data from the political portal, the party has not exceeded 5%, and that for around 2 years. But Brexit will be a topic that we will have to talk about on this channel for quite some time. I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.